This is the buildable Iron Man figure, and I think most of the LEGO community was overall okay with this set, but it definitely wasn't the best. I think most of us really liked the idea of this set, a larger Iron Man figure that wasn't quite UCS scale and incredibly expensive, and was small enough and posable enough to be playable. And I think the majority of this figure was crafted rather well, but there are a few large problems. And there are already some really good alternate builds online that combine a few different Marvel sets to make an Ultimate Iron Man figure. But I'm not a collector and I don't buy these to display them, I buy these to play with them, and not many of these alternate builds were very posable. They looked amazing no doubt, but they weren't quite made for play. So I picked up 2 more Iron Man sets to try and make a better version of this figure. Now I don't plan to turn it into a mech, I didn't buy this for the minifigure to put inside. I still want this to remain an Iron Man at this scale with no minifigure inside. But this is going to provide a lot more small ball joints that can provide a little bit more posability than these little angled plates provided on the original elbows. And as well, it gives me plenty of gold and dark red pieces. Now I'm not too sure if this is going to remain this version of the Iron Man suit. I'm not really planning to stick to any specific suit in the Marvel universe. I'm kind of just going to design something that I think looks good. I kind of want to turn it into a War Machine Iron Man where it's very weaponized and it has weapons all over it. But then as well, I would love to turn it into my favorite Iron Man suit of all time, Igor. Now, of course, that won't be color accurate, but I think I can do it. We'll see where we ended up, but I'm really hyped that these finally showed up, so I'm gonna get building. Alrighty guys, we're all done building, and I couldn't be happier with the finished product. Today, we're going over my Mark 38 Igor alternate build. Now, out of all the Iron Man suits, why did I make Igor? Well, let me explain. Iron Man 3 was definitely one of the movies released in 2013, with the star Iron Man suit, Igor, being only shown for a few seconds. But those few seconds were just enough for me to fall in love with him and the entire suit. And as of recording and uploading this video, LEGO has only made one official Igor build. And it was not great. So I decided to make my own. Using 2 copies of the Iron Man figure set and 1 copy of the Iron Man mech, I made this Igor build. And before we dive too deep in, if you guys enjoy mods and alternate builds, consider subscribing to my channel. I upload almost every week. So going around Igor, you can see it's not 100% accurate to the movie, if the color wasn't already a dead giveaway, but it still retains all the features that make Igor Igor. He's got a hunched back with a spine lifter, he's strong, and heavy. So let's go ahead and take a look at all of that, and we're going to go ahead and start at the bottom, because that's where I started when I was building him. So I started with the feet because I knew Igor needed a strong base, and to do that, I used the majority of slope bricks that I had to really bulk up these legs. And as well, I put these cheese slopes on the side of his feet to give him a little bit of a wider profile so he has a bit of an easier time when he's lifting heavy objects. And using the same shield piece from the Iron Man figure set, it helps to smooth the transition between the foot and the calves. And as well, it's some nice armor plating for this ankle joint. On top of the many slope and smooth tile pieces that we used on the legs here, we also tried to use as many stickers as possible. All 3 of these sets came with some really good stickers, and it meant I could pack in even more detail on otherwise plain pieces, so I tried to use as many as possible. And on the back of his legs here, I gave him some incredibly powerful repulsors as opposed to the normal ones on Iron Man suits. I wasn't able to work in any translate blue on the foot here, so I decided to go for a more powerful version on the back of his legs. And I think that makes sense given Igor's much heavier and much bigger, and he might need a little bit of extra oomph when he's moving some heavy objects up or down. His knees down here I especially like, and despite all the armor plating and greebling over this joint, and over all the rest, he still has full posability. I was even able to work in a little bit more articulation in his elbows. And before we fully transition onto the arms here, the legs are connected to the waist with just a standard small ball joint. Back up to his arms, we'll go ahead and go over the hands, and they're essentially unchanged from the original set. I just removed that circular plate that was underneath the repulsors. That light gray plate didn't look good at all, and they easily could have slapped this repulsor piece right on his hands like this. I'm not sure why they did that, but I went ahead and did that, and it makes it look a little bit cleaner. And on both of his forearms, I made use of the stickered pieces on these Nexo Knight shields. And then on the inner side, I just used some smooth tiles. On top of the new articulation at the elbows, I decided to add a stud on either side, and that just gives some exterior insinuation of the joint that's beneath it on the model. Now we all know the joint's there, we don't need the stud to be there, but every Iron Man suit in universe has some kind of circular elbow, so I wanted to retain some form of that with this stud on either side. And then on the back side of the arms, as you guys just saw, I worked in a little bit more greebling using some of those clip bits that we saw earlier. And the rest of his upper arm is bulked up a bit with some studs facing on the side to add some smooth tiles, as well as some triangular armor plating hanging over the joint to protect it. And then some shiny gold slopes leading into the shoulders, which use the same shoulder pieces from the original Iron Man figure set. Now this same piece doubles as the face print just without the print. And I know these pieces aren't perfect. As long as you adjust the shoulder pads to the angle you'll be viewing Igor from most, it'll work just fine. Even if you want to do some more combat ready stances like this, you can still cover up those shoulder joints no problem. And in between Igor's 2 shoulders, we can take a look at that brick-built hunchback. Now originally I actually used another one of these shoulder pieces, but it looked a little too weird and it kind of made him look like a whale. So I opted for this more brick-built design, and I really think it encloses the head further down the torso to really solidify that hunchback look. But despite his head being closed in, there's actually still an impressive amount of posability for what Igor can do. Igor's head is actually attached to his body through 2 ball joints. There's one ball joint here connecting Igor's head to a ball joint strut, and then there's another ball joint in the center of his torso, allowing Igor's head to move side to side. So keeping Igor's head straight, it can move side to side just a little bit, but then with the ball joint under his chin, he can look around just a little bit more and have some more free looking ability. On his torso, just underneath his head, we have a whole bunch of different armor plating using a bunch of slope bricks and different sticker pieces. And as well, every Iron Man suit has an arc reactor on its chest, and I decided to use the piece from the Iron Man mech set. This also gives me a little bit more armor plating detail around this area. But one thing is, the unibeam shape is completely inaccurate to what Igor has. Some Iron Man suits have the triangular unibeam, others have the circular, while Igor has a more rectangular one. But I was able to work that in just fine. If I just peel off this Nexonite shield piece, I now have a more accurate arc reactor in the middle. And underneath and around the arc reactor, we just have even more sticker and plating detail. And as well, while we're down here, the waist still rotates completely 360, just like the original set. Now that we're done on his torso, we can move on to his back and his more iconic spine lifter. And to make Igor's spine lifter, I decided to use these golden clip bits with these 1x1 plates. And the suit in universe only has 3 of these little bits that power up and reinforce his strength and capabilities, allowing him to lift up to 10 times his weight. And behind the spine lifter on his back, I still wanted it to look good, so I used some gold 1x1 studs in there, as if there's any other size of stud. And then these 1/4 rounded tiles on the side here. And then we have these large gold slope bricks going up on either side to help protect the spine lifter, and then some smooth tiles on either side to encase it all on his back. Further down, underneath the spine lifter and this extra piece of armor plating, we actually have another added on repulsor. Like we've mentioned, and I'm sure you guys know, Igor's very heavy, so he's going to need a little bit of extra power compared to a normal Iron Man suit. So in order to give him a little bit more maneuverability and power, I added a small thruster on the back here. And with that, that pretty much covers everything that Igor's got and everything that I was able to work in. If you guys enjoyed this alternate build and you think LEGO needs to make a new Igor build, go ahead and drop a like down below. I would also love to know your guys' favorite Iron Man suits down in the comments, or whatever you would make an Iron Man suit about. And as always, I love hearing community suggestions around any theme or any build, so make sure you drop those down below as well. And to the non-Marvel fans who made it to the end of the video, thank you very much, and the ATTE mods part 3 will be dropping next week. Other than that, I'll see you guys next time. Peace, fellas.